I've left, and please edit that out, Dara.
That's a great
Not the yak
question.
is a bit, just me saying how much time is left.
Okay, so Kian, here's the thing.
What?
I didn't hit go on the record. I didn't hit go. I, I didn't hit the timer.
You had one job.
I did. I did. And then I was thinking about video games and I didn't do my job.
This is my other ongoing segment. Kian turns into one of those rage quitting YouTubers from the early 2010s. Where did all those people
It's,
go? Is there like an island somewhere?
no, I think they're still on YouTube. I think they're still there.
But
The
they
Nostalgia Critic is still making videos. Nobody's watching them though.
Okay, we've got our topic for the rest of the episode. So, no, I'm only kidding. That's not
Have
topic.
you been watching Nostalgia Critic?
No, no. Uh no, it's I mean, I'm gonna be real. I watched too much Nostalgia Critic back on the day to hate Nostalgia Critic now, but I do feel bad for him and everyone involved. I totally understand everyone hating him now, both for aesthetic, artistic, and moral reasons. But like, I'm loyal to a fault, even though I don't watch anymore. I can't like erase the good times that were had back then. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You know what? I had that, but then I heard about the business malpractice and the abuse
oh,
things. I
oh
don't think,
yeah, no, absolutely. That's all shocking.
yeah.
Like, I don't like, yeah. I'm just saying,
So
like, in my head, I can't like fully switch off that bit and absolutely hate him, you know?
I think I come at it from more of a place of fascination.
Right.
There, like, no, this is also spurred on by several other YouTubers who I've watched. I will always watch a video about him these days.
If only he could turn his own videos into that.
Here's the thing: if he does, then the magic is lost. Then we lose it. I know. I'm watching people armchair analyze this
But
man through his
actually,
art.
yeah, let's actually get into that then, because we kind of alluded to it last week when we were talking about Dan Olson's like video on it was the angry video game nerd, and what was it, the
Yes,
preposterous tripod?
yeah. The video is called "I Do Not Know James Rolfe," and Dan Olson. Dan Olson is a deep dive YouTuber, and there's a solid like half an hour of this video where he is just fascinated by it's a camera tripod that's like three pieces of wood haphazardly drilled together,
Hmm.
and like he just it like he I think like there's a part of the video where he just keeps making these,
Yes, yes.
even though there is like a far simpler way to do even this like home job.
Well, that's actually with whatever time we have left, because we don't know how much time we have left. Thanks, Kev. Uh,
Whoopsie.
let's actually. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. Let's get into it because, like, I've been with YouTube since the very early days. Like, I remember getting like video recommendations from my teachers back in first year of secondary, which would be like 2000. What was it, 3 or 4, or something like that? When was YouTube started?
If I had to, I like ballpark number, I would probably say 2001.
2001. Okay, well,
I like no, like I let's get an actual. Hold on, I'll get an actual date on it because
right.
like I
Well,
think
while
this
you're
this is
doing
important.
that,
But
right?
I distinctly remember like YouTube being around when I was in primary school.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, that shows
yeah.
what difference like you and me were doing on the internet. I just went to the Bionicle site every day and played the same games over and over.
Well, I mean, I would have a YouTube video that people told me about tabbed next to the iCarly site. You know,
Ha! February 14th, 2005. So
all
later
right,
than you'd
okay.
think. But there were streaming sites before that, like Flash and Mega Video and all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
Rest in
I
peace,
bring
Flash.
yeah, but I bring all this up because like I'm really fascinated with how like broadly speaking, YouTube started as sort of a space that was like owned by like the angry video game nerd and like the that guy with the glasses, that whole crew. They're little Avengers of reviewers who are not all angry. Like I think Lindsay Ellis, even though she's disowned her early stuff, was pretty intellectual from the beginning. Uh, but like how they were sort of like, at least in my little eco bubble, whatever, were kind of the main content creators on YouTube making that kind of stuff. And now it's all like, to stick with that also, like 3 hour videos on Bitcoin and like think pieces on like movies you haven't seen, but you'll happily watch a video about it for 2.5 hours. And like, do you have like any nostalgia for the pre long form video essay like film brain throwing things at a camera like era or anything like that?
Oh, completely. I no to set the kind of expectations. I'd say I would call YouTube like my primary streaming service.
Right.
I'd probably watch anything on that far more than I watch anything on Netflix. Um, yeah, no, like I do because I used to avidly watch like the Game Grumps, which were 10-minute videos every single day,
I'm
and it
actually
was those.
replaying their Sonic 06 thing at the moment. Yeah.
Goddamn. Um, and like there was, yeah, there was something magical about that. But now I'm fully in on the several hour YouTube video essay.
Mm.
And there's two kind of aspects as to like why it's shifted this direction. Um like one that is very intentional and one that's I wouldn't say so intentional, but it becomes psychologically kind of like it's a psychological effect of YouTube as a platform.
Right.
Where I mean, if you've been on the platform for like any amount of years, odds are a one of many. Doug Walker himself went on about this at one point about how YouTube will just on a whim completely change what analytics they like metric success by.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a
Um,
lot of
when,
videos on how the kind of weirdly enough, the barometer to watch is one of those that move those videos about the cinema sins, is it? You can sort of, they're like
yeah,
experts. I don't really like their stuff, but they're experts at finding out how the analytics works and like changing it. So if it's like a 10-minute video or a 2 hour video, depending on the year, you can sort of see when their priorities shifted,
yeah, like there was a point in time again around this Game Grumps um, nostalgia critic point where the metric was just getting as many videos on as you can, just upload, 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 and the more you upload, the more the numbers go up.
Yes.
That's not how YouTube works anymore. Now YouTube's main analytics seems to be watch time. The more time you're watching something on
Like
YouTube,
retention,
that's what
yeah.
they metric. Retention, yeah. Particularly in single videos, retention. So that's why you're seeing such a rise in several hour long videos.
Right.
That
Okay.
might that honestly could be about nothing, but so long as anybody is sticking around in that like hour to 2 hour mark, that's what YouTube is going to deem a success. And if people can do that like successively, like if somebody can do that continuously, then they're onto something. And that's I think why you're probably seeing less of a push on things that are more, for lack of a better word, cinematically driven.
Right.
Like anything that tries to be directed at all.
Mm.
Um, you're just not going to see because that takes too long to make.
Like a sort of a
And
movies with Mikey and those sort of lavish
yeah,
sequences and all that. Yeah.
exactly. And like I love those videos, but like they are not playing into the hand of YouTube.
No,
Probably
because they
purposefully
take
so.
longer to make and they don't play to the strengths of
Mm.
like what it's looking for.
Yeah, compared to something like I would probably call myself a fan of video essays, like your Dan Olson, your Jenny Nicholson's,
Yeah.
which don't get me wrong, take forever to make a video. They are not
Five
fast
hours was the last
makers.
Jenny Nicholson, was it?
4, I think. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and I think that took her a year,
Yeah.
maybe more. Um, but if you can have a success with a 4 hour video, and like that's, I think the key to like them is that they are well made videos. They
Yes.
aren't like, again, the Star Cruise video isn't a 4 hour video about nothing. That is a tight knit story from back to front that is no cruft.
Oh my God. Well, actually,
Uh,
like, I mean, just to kind of
but
go on, say.
sorry, actually, yeah, sorry, but that's the analytic side of it. But the psychological thing is, I've noticed I will not be like emotionally ready to watch a movie at any given point,
Right.
but I could sit down and watch a 4 hour video any night of the week.
About that
There's
movie,
you
potentially, yes.
about that movie exactly, yeah. I think YouTube to me as a platform has kind of fostered a low investment type of entertainment
Yes.
where you
While
don't
you're
have to
cooking
be,
or something like that. Yeah.
while you're cooking, while you're playing the Switch, just having it on in the background. Now, and again, that's a subconscious thing because I'll sit down, I'll pick up my Switch to play Ace Attorney
Mm.
while watching a Jenny Nicholson video, say, and then I'll realize like, oh wait, no, I can't do the two of these at once. These,
Yes.
this doesn't work for me. But it over like the decades I've been watching, it has fostered that sort of an attitude
Yeah, and I
where,
think YouTube is like in the current state, I mean, it's kind of like the new flicking through the channels. Like you said, low investment. Because once upon a time, way back in the day, you'd have like 12 channels and you might not necessarily commit to one, but you'll flick around, you'll stick with something for 2 minutes, you'll change when the ads come up, you might not go back to it, all that. Like YouTube is like tailor made for that kind of thing. You could be halfway through a Game Grumps, you could wander into a video essay, you could go to a music video, all that kind of stuff, like, you know?
yeah, absolutely. And I think like, and what I'm noticing recently is that they've gotten very aggressive with advertisements as of late.
Mm.
I think like I'm noticing ads, unskippable ads up to about 50 seconds these days.
Yes.
But the
Uh,
thing is that like I'm not they're kind of like they've got themselves in a bit of a corner for me at least,
mm.
where it's probably exactly where they want to be because they get to play more ads. Where I'm not going to pay YouTube, I'm not going to pay Google for their service. That's not going to happen
Yeah,
because
I get
it's
you.
not YouTube giving me the service, it's the creators.
Mm. But
You
like,
know,
I get you. Like, but like, just to kind of circle back a bit, because I mean, we are going to run long. I'm sorry. I hope you know where to be. Um, like, what I find interesting comparing, because there is kind of a community feeling, like, like Dan Olson knows Lindsay Ellis, knows Moose and Mikey's, knows Jenny's, like all that kind of stuff. But like the appeal I had with like Channel Awesome back in the day was there was this almost like shared universe feel to all the content that was coming out. And I'm not sure how invested you were in this community, but like Nostalgia Critic had a rivalry with the Angry Video Game Nerd. Like Todd the Shadows and Lindsay Ellis, they had their sort of will they, won't they look like love triangle thing. And like weirdly enough, Browse held high and the Rap Critic had a friendship that made no sense. And some of it was artificial and some of it wasn't. But it was really cool to kind of see all of their styles developing and then overlapping. It was a little bit like, weirdly enough, sort of the Marvel universe of movies, where sort of like you weren't sure where people's plots were going, but you were happy to sort of see them overlap and stuff. The only things I never liked, fully enough, were those anniversary specials. Did you ever watch those?
I didn't. Again, I haven't, but I've watched videos about them.
Again, well, then you know what I'm talking about, like.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well then here,
Uh,
well then you seem to be kind of more knowledgeable about sort of YouTube culture and all that. What obviously we know that like, and I don't mean to like give the Nostalgia Critic a pass by any means. I remember this stuff fondly, but that does not mean I approve of the stuff that went down. I think all his stuff, especially like after the wall and all that kind of stuff, all the green screen stuff post demo reel has been like, I would say, very shallow. I know it wasn't very deep back in the day necessarily, but it felt like it had a bit of wish and awareness to it. Like, but my question is, and maybe it's bigger than like channel also, what do you think were the things that shifted out of the man yells angrily at ET video game into the more thinky sort of let's look at a camera on the roof for 3 hours and mull about life type YouTube where we're at now?
Oh, that's like you're asking a question of like cultural consciousness. You know, the early 2010s, particularly internet culture of the early 2010s, was being angry about literally anything that you could find.
Mm.
And most of YouTube and most of the internet have kind of just most like again, most internet consciousness and I would say popular consciousness have moved away from that to because, in hindsight, it was kind of cringe.
It was
And,
cringe, but it was compelling, Like let's I don't like when people sort of like take something that was very popular and sort of like retro engineer what was good about it and what wasn't. Like, what was compelling about the angry, like you like Game Grumps? What's so compelling about Knuckles
I think
driving Aaron to leave the room out of just because he's stuck to a rock on the roof?
I think like with a lot of that stuff, there was a homegrown feeling
Mm.
of these are guys with a camera and a recording setup. Like I think like the dream was they kind of made the dream,
Yes.
which is that you can record yourself playing video games and make a living doing that. And now they've kind of passed that where they're fairly successful, and now micro celebrities, but still celebrities, and they've just kind of lost that. It's lost that kind of indie touch. And I know like it's hackney to say, well, they're not cool anymore because now they're popular,
Mm.
but it has lost a sense of the charm of it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Where I
agree.
think
I think.
particularly
Go
with
on,
things
say.
like the Nostalgia Critic, it feels like he's just kind of like spinning the wheels. He's doing what he knows is popular, but there's no inspiration.
Yes, I agree. I mean, like, because back in the day, like, and I keep going back to the green screens and all that kind of stuff, like, but back in the day, like, if there was like a sight gag or something that involved a green screen, like, I was thinking about this the other day, actually, just coincidentally, like, in his epic, like, Moulin Rouge video, there's a sequence where he's like walking sadly while they sing a parody song, and like it starts with him just like in a field, and then it's him on a beach, and then it's him on the moon, and it makes no sense that he's walking to these places. But like you said, the fact that it was sort of outsider kind of meant like it had that sort of kitschy charm to it. But when you're like established and you're like 20 years deep or something like that, and your stuff looks worse than when it was cheap, I don't think it's cute anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as I said, that fed into kind of the consciousness where it is, and like we're 2020 is not 2010.
mm,
We live in a jaded society,
yeah.
so I think the popularity will always be pretty jaded itself.
Yes. Well, let me say this because I'm almost like the guy in It's Always Sunny drawing the lines on the maps, like Carol and Carol and all that. But I think you can sort of draw a line from like the sort of the angry video game nerd thing to the likes of Markiplier and Jacksepticeye getting really angry at Five Nights at Freddy's to like our sort of like modern YouTube essay thing. And like weirdly enough, the conclusion I'm sort of reaching is that the appeal that what people found appealing in those sort of like angry things and then the angry like Markipliers and stuff, they probably have moved over to Twitch, haven't they? That whole parasocial relationship thing with like creators on those kind of platforms. Like